Dear students, welcome to this session. In this session, we are going to talk about file system mounting. We know that a file must be opened before it can be used, and similar to that, file system must be mounted before it can be available to the processes on the system. More specifically, the directory structure may be built out of multiple volumes which must be mounted to make them available within the file system namespace. So we have to make the file system in order to be used. It should be mounted first. The file system must be mounted before it can be accessed. So we have two figures in the next slide. One is the unmounted file system, and another one is the mounted on a particular mount point. So this is the diagram. The second diagram shows a unmounted partition, and second one is the existing file system. In the this is a existing file system. You can see the structure. There is a path, and this is not mounted. This particular directory structure, whenever it is mounted, then only it will be accessible through that mount point. So this is the mount point. Let's say whatever the structure in the previous directory structure, this directory structure, it is now mounted on a mount point users, that is the / users, that is the mount point. When it is mounted, then this directory structure or the file system can be used. How we are going to access that is, now in this particular, if you want to access this particular structure or the directory, it would be / /users / su. So that is how you are going to access it through the this mount point. File sharing. Okay, file sharing is a very important aspect. Sharing of files on multi-user system is desirable, because when we are working on a multi-user system, there might be a requirement where files needs to be shared among multiple users. So the file sharing should be available, and at the same time the protection aspect of the particular file is also important. Sharing may be done through a protection scheme. On distributed system, files may be shared across the network. So if you have a distributed system, the files can be shared across the network. Example is NFS, network file system, is a common distributed file sharing method. NFS, this is a very common, most widely used file system where the files are distributed over the entire network. File sharing multiple users. So how we can share the particular file with the multiple users? Based on the user IDs. Identify user IDs, identify users, allowing permissions and protection to be per user. So we can make sure that a particular file is can be shared as per the number of given user IDs. Let's say out of 100 users, you want to give access to the 10 users. You can do it based on the user IDs, or you can create a group ID, and you can give access to that particular group, and you can add users to that group. For example, admin group. So admin group is given with the access to, say, some of the system files, and whenever you make a certain user as an admin, you can add that particular user to that group. So whatever the group ID has a sharing access, similar access will be given to that particular user. Group IDs allow user to be in groups, permitting group access rights. If you see this, this is most widely used, group IDs rather than the user IDs. So group will remain. User might be in those group, or they may not be in the group. Users can be added or removed but the group will remain as is. Whenever we have like in any projects, groups are the access is given, file access is given based on the groups, and whenever we new people have to be given with the access, those new people user id will be added. If somebody leaves, their user id will be removed from that particular group. File sharing. Remote file system uses a network to allow file system to access between the system manually via programs like FTP. FTP is a file transfer protocol. Using a file transfer protocol, we can share any documents. It can be either anonymous or you can have a authenticated. Whenever you are making a FTP connection with any other system for the sharing, you can do it as a anonymous, or you can have a authenticated connection, and then you can share the files automatically, seamlessly using a distributed file system. We can use any distributed file system, and we can access all the we can do the sharing of all the files semi automatically via the World Wide Web. And other way is like it's a client server model, allows clients to mount a remote file system from the servers. So here also we can share the files. Server can serve multiple clients. Client and user on client identification in insecure or complicated. In case of a client server also, we can have the sharing of the file between the client and the server, and similar the sharing can be protection can be elevated, or it can be a free access. So those protection can be provided. NFS is a network file system, is a standard Unix client server file sharing protocol. So this is a most commonly used NFS. It is a client server file sharing protocol. And CIFS is a standard window protocol. CIFS is common internet file system that is used by the Windows operating system. Then standard operating system file calls are translated into remote calls. So for standard operating system, whatever the file calls are translated into a remote calls. Other distributed information systems, distributed naming services, such as we have LDAP, lightweight directory access protocol, or DNS, NIS, Active Directory, implement the unified access to information needed for remote computing. So these are the other mechanisms where we can have the access to the information or sharing of the information for the remote computing. File sharing failure modes. Remote file system add new failure modes due to network failure or server failure. So whenever we have a remote file system, always the failure of network will add to the existing failures, or the failure of the server itself that can cause a failure. Recovery from failure can involve state information about status of each remote request. Now recovery from failure, in case of if it is a local file system, then it's very easy to recover, everything is local. But if it is a remote request, remote sharing, then the state information is very important in order to do the recovery. In case of there is a any recovery has to be done. For example, a certain process is accessing a file remotely and it is updating, and in during the process of updating, let us say there is some network issue or some failure happens, and that time how to recover, that is the question. So that will involve a state information. Basically we should need to know what is the state when the failure occurred in order to restore or recover. Stateless protocols such as NFS, network file system, include all information in each request, allowing easy recovery but less security. So we can have stateless protocols where we have all the information that would be easy for the recovery, but at the same time it is less secured. File sharing consistency semantics specify how multiple users are to access a shared file simultaneously. So it will specify how multiple users are going to access a shared file. When we have a shared file, how they are accessed simultaneously, and this is very similar to process synchronization algorithm. We studied about the process synchronization when multiple processes wants to access a certain shared information, how that synchronization is done, if you remember, like atomic instruction, things like that. Various methods are used. This is very similar to that. Tend to be less complex due to disk I/O and network latency for remote file system. Andrew file system AFS implemented a complex remote file sharing semantics. Unique file system UFS implements write to an open file visible immediately to other users of the same open file. So here in the UFS, whenever we write to a open file, that would be immediately visible to the all other open files. That is one way of implementing. And sharing file pointer to allow multiple users to read and write concurrently. So by sharing the file pointer, we can have multiple users do the read and write operation concurrently. AFS has sessions semantics, write only visible to sessions starting after the file is closed. So in this case, whatever the writes are there, it is only visible after the particular file is closed to all other sessions. Protection. So the file owner or creator should be able to control what can be done by whom. So the particular file, whoever has the ownership of that particular file, he should have the control to what all the things that can be done on that file, read, write, or execute, whatever the things that can be done. And second thing is who can do that, by whom, means for every file the creator or the owner has a control to decide what are the different operations that can be done, and who can do those operations. Both can be controlled by the owner of that particular file system. Types of access: read, okay, for reading the particular file; write, execute, append, delete, and list. Okay, these are the common operations. Append is appending to the existing, so it will append at the end of the file, whatever is the end of the file. After end of the file, it will do the append, that is the append command. Delete will delete, and list will it will list all the information, when it was created, what is the information, size, etc. Access lists and groups. Okay, mode of access: read, write, execute. Three classes of users. So the access list, that the mode of access is either read, write, or execute, and there would be three classes of users. One is owner, group, and public. The owner, if this particular owner is 7, that is 111. 7 is what, how it is represented in binary, it is represented as 111. What is the meaning of that? The owner has read access, write access, and X is a execute, that is the execution access. owner can do all those operations. So on any particular file, read, write and execute, all the options are available to the owner. And next is the group access. So the group access is 6. What is 6 represented in a binary? 110 means the group has a access to read and write, but it doesn't have a access to execute. Public has a access of 1. How we represent the 1 in binary? 001. So here each of the bit 001 is what? This public do not have access to read or write, but they can execute that particular file. Now the 3 bits represent the read, write and execute. So each owner has 3 bits. Each group has 3 bits, and those 3-bit value represents 1 means access is there, 0 means access is not there. For what they have the access? Either for read, write or execute. So basically 111 means they have all the access, that is read, write and execute. Okay, here one example is there. Ask manager to create a group, unique name, say G. So G is the group name, and add some users to the group. So manager will create a group called G, and he will add some users to that particular group. For particular file, say game or subdirectory, define an appropriate access. There is a folder called game, and we have to define appropriate access. So we have group, and inside that group we have all the users, and now we want to give a particular file or a subdirectory. It can be a file or a subdirectory called game. We want to give the appropriate access. Chmod, CHMOD, change mode. This is a abbreviation of the change mode. This is the Unix command, chmod. When we say change mode, then the permission, what kind of a permission you want to give, and you will tell to what file you want to give that particular permission. If it is a file or subdirectory, you will give this permission. Basically what it says, owner will have all the access. 6 means group will have read, write access, but group will not have the executive access. And if any user apart from that group that makes a public, they have only execute access. Okay, and then you attach the group to a file. Now what you are doing, attach a group to a file. You are changing the group, change group, that is chgrp, that is the command, change group. You are changing the group of this particular file or a directory to G. This is the Windows XP access control list management. So this is on the folder. If you know already, you know about this, how to set a security on a file or a folder. You can see the security, who are the which all the users have access. You can see administrator, guest and PBG, system and users. These are the groups that have access, and each of these group will have a different kind of access. For example, here guest is highlighted. If you see the guest, below is the you can see what kind of access they have. Guest has a full control, right? Do not have the all is deny. So if you see the guest do not have any kind of a permission on this particular file. Administrator, maybe he has all, that is full control, modify, read and execute, read, write and some special permission, those will be ticked. So administrator or the owner of the file can give these permissions. Sample Unix directory listing, you must have seen this. This is a Unix directory listing. You can see this is the access. this particular one is a file intro.ps, all other informations, okay, when it is created, who is the owner or things like that. Now this is the read write access. You can see rw dash rw dash r dash dash. This is basically the meaning here is 110. Okay, this is 1106 1106 means owner and the group has read write and the public has only read. Okay, it do not have a write or the execute. Similarly, private is a folder. So if you see the first one as a dash, that is a file. If you see D, it is a directory. So directory, only owner has the access, read write and execute access. Group do not have any access or public do not have any access. So this is how it is represented in the Unix operating system or the Linux operating system. So this command, if you do ls command, if you use the directory listing, you will see this information for the current directory and all the subdirectories.